content is king. I don't believe that you can produce too much content because there's all these filters and things like that. And if you put enough out there, more people will see it. Welcome to the Matt Laricy Project. This is a show about all things real estate, business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Each show consists of myself, Matt Laricy, a member of my team, and a guest. This week, the MLG team member joining us is Matt Piazza. Matt, how we feeling today?
Good. Fresh off a trip. I'm good.
You were in Banff?
I was in Banff, Alberta.
I'm going there in a few weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll give you my itinerary. Don't Google anything because it's all wrong. They tell you to wake up at 4 in the morning and beat the crowd. Wrong.
His pictures were super cute on Instagram. So
most likes I've ever gotten.
This is season 2, episode 9. What is a smart home? And today's guest is Matthew Palmieri. Matthew is VP of Simply Smart Home, a company that provides an easy and affordable way to connect products to your homes. Matthew, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Matthew, well, we have three Matts. We have Matthew and then 2 Matts. So this will be very easy for our listeners to understand who's talking. But Matthew, we've known each other now for how many years? 6, 7, 10?
Yeah, it feels
I don't know.
Forever.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I went to college with his brother, and then we got to know each other from there, and we instantly became best friends, and that was it.
Yeah. First sale.
Yeah, exactly. So Matthew's been a longtime client, and you've been involved with smart homes for how long now?
So I started my career outside of anything smart home related. So I was in the medical device industry for 8 or 9 years, and then I was actually an early adopter of the technology. And a friend of mine reached out, and they were hiring at Nest, and Nest had just been acquired by Google. So I worked at Google/Nest. It's kind of a confusing story of how those companies progress, but I worked there for 4 years, and recently, about a month and a half ago, went out onto the customer side and kind of started my own thing and have been working with Simply Smart Home.
What made you want to pivot out of a Google Nest, which I have to imagine is a pretty cush gig, considering that most people know Nest pretty well?
Yeah, it's everything the movie, the internship, the funny hats, that's all real.
Yeah.
You get there and they give you this spinny wheel hat, and there's slides in the office and nap pods and lunches and breakfast, dinners, everything.
You sit on beanbags, and it's just like the coolest thing in the world.
It's wild. There's walking desks, and so it was great, and I loved my experience there. I really had a lot of fun.
You gotta get a walking
Yeah,
desk.
we're roughing it here.
This is terrible. This desk doesn't even move.
Yeah.
I don't see any standing desks.
These speakers only go to 10 here. They don't even go to 11.
Not quite progressive in the.
We have a
in the
Keurig
office.
machine.
That's nice.
Yeah, it doesn't work
Who
anymore.
stocks it though?
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. I haven't used it since I started.
And that was great. I got a lot of really good experience and met a lot of great customers through the time at Google. And one of my customers that kind of became a friend, and now we're colleagues, is based out of Toronto. And I just figured there's so much opportunity in the space.
Yeah.
When you walk into Best Buy now, when you walk into Home Depot, the first couple aisles you walk by, it's all smart home stuff.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask someone at Home Depot or Best Buy, walk me through this. What do I need for my house?
Right.
You might get a blank stare.
Yeah.
So what we're working on is making sure that customers have access to a home service provider that can actually do that for you, give you a consultation and help you through the process.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little bit of a hodgepodge right now because you're kind of in that transitional phase that it's going to be like pretty much everything there is from now on. Like everything's going to work that way, but like we're not quite there yet. So everybody's kind of like grabbing like products left and right, but you don't really know what fits.
Yep.
So like, how does your company how is your company a little bit different than some of your competitors out there? Because I have to assume this is a big space at this point.
Yeah. So for the most part, when you look at the companies offering smart home products, it's usually an ancillary to their core business. So for an HVAC contractor, they may offer you a smart thermostat, or a plumbing contractor may offer you water leak detection.
Yeah.
What we're doing that's different is we're doing the entire thing together. So there's always been these integrators. You might walk into a multi-million-dollar house and they have switches everywhere, and they have the movie theater, the whole package. Those are $100,000+ systems.
Yeah.
What our company is doing, which is completely different, is we'll go in, we'll sit down at a kitchen table, have a conversation, a consultation, and say, all right, based on what you told me, here are the things you need, and we can actually get this all in for a monthly payment.
Yeah.
Right, which a lot of people are used to now. That's Netflix, the generation that we...
Subscriptions.
Yeah.
Subscription based,
Yeah.
and then we'll service it. So, hey, I'm getting all these cameras and the doorbell and all these things, but I don't want it to break. It's a big concern. Or I don't have the right Wi-Fi. We do all of that.
Yeah, it is kind of like overwhelming and confusing about like how this all works and what pieces you're supposed to get. So kind of going off of that, like for our consumers out there, like what is a smart home? Like what is even like the definition of this? Because you hear this buzzword all the time of like, I want a smart home. Like is just like being able to walk in and say like Google turn on the lights mean it's smart home? Or what are people kind of
careful what you say, because if my phone hears you, you might turn on the lights at home.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really good question. I don't think there is a right answer. It's funny. When I was at Google, we were actually talking to the NAR, so the National Association of Realtors,
Right.
about defining smart homes.
Yeah.
Which when I was there, I don't think it had been done yet, because they're trying to get to a point where you can check on MLS.
Yeah.
I'm selling a smart home.
Correct.
But what does that mean? No one knows. Like, is it having a smart thermostat? Is it having a voice-activated something or other?
They still haven't defined it, just so you know.
Right,
Okay.
and I don't know if they will, because
Yeah.
it's kind of a undefined space is the best way to describe it. It's not, I don't think the coffee maker turning on in the morning, that's not necessarily a smart house. To me, it's what I think of a smart home. It's when things interact with each other to start making more and more sense within your home and start to predict your behaviors.
I think a smart home is in the Back to the Future scene when he walks in and like everything is like turned on and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of where I hope it's heading.
Yeah.
I think it'd be badass.
Well, it is.
Have you seen that one?
Have I seen Back to the Future?
I don't know, Matt. You're not very savvy with
Come
TV.
on.
You know.
It's a ridiculous question.
But like, I mean, that's kind of like where I feel like things are going. But like, I still think we're 10, 15 years away from it being completely mainstream where it's like in every household. But I feel like it's kind of heading there. I mean, is right now, would you say, like the most mainstream thing people are using is like the Amazon Echoes and Google Voice and stuff like that?
Yeah, so Amazon Echo and Amazon Voice in general is a major player, and a device that penetrated the market quickly. They're first to market. Whenever you're first to market, you get a lot of market share.
Right.
Google Home's become wildly popular too. You'll find with both of those devices, they're very cheap.
Yeah.
So, sometimes during Black Friday, you're getting them for $20-$30.
Yeah.
That's a pretty easy entry into smart home.
Yeah.
That in itself, though, I wouldn't necessarily consider like smart home.
Yeah.
If you have that voice control device connected to your thermostat and you say, okay, Google, I'm cold, and it raises the temperature, now you're starting to get into some more Back to the Future like things.
Yeah.
And one thing a lot of people, is this going to be like Jetsons? If you go back 20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
there was a Microsoft commercial where someone would walk up to the door, it would do a retina scan, the door would unlock, he'd walk in, say, play my music, the music would come on, and there was a series of integrations and things that would happen. So this stuff's been out for decades.
It has been, yeah.
But you're spending $400,000 or $500,000. All the things I mentioned where you walk up to the door, it recognizes you, it unlocks, you can set your temperature with your voice and play music, you're talking maybe $2,000 to get that done today.
Yeah, so the technology's kind of come down.
What's a typical subscription plan cost, like the average consumer?
Yeah, so the nice thing about our plans specifically is they come with service on top of it. So you're going to get all the products, you're going to get them installed, and you're going to get peace of mind knowing that this stuff's going to work, it's going to stay connected.
Right.
And these range anywhere from $19 a month to $99 a month.
Oh, okay. And the $2,000 you're talking about, that's like to integrate your whole home and get it all set up. To
Yeah,
what
that'll
you
get
want.
you a
Typical.
you'll get...
What's the what's the most savvy home you've ever seen or set up, or like crazy, microwave turns on or whatever?
Yeah, I mean,
all that?
there's everything, sprinkler control system. There's basically anything that has electronics can be connected to the internet. And that's when I say, like, these aren't necessarily smart devices. Like putting a Wi-Fi chip in a Roomba, you can turn it on and off from your phone. That's what people think is smart home today.
Right.
Because they think smartphone, smart home, I want to turn it on from my phone.
Yeah.
What we're driving towards and educating consumers on is something like having a Google Home Hub, which is a screen, or any of the even just putting a Chromecast in your TV and then having a Nest Hello Video doorbell. When someone rings your doorbell, it'll actually pop up on that screen, and you can interact with them through that screen. Tell them leave the package if it's a mailman or someone like that, or you say I'll be right there, or we're not home, whatever, or who's at my front door.
Right. So it's kind of good security. Well, kind of like if when you're doing these consultations with people, like. And they want to get into like the whole smart home thing. Like, what's the first thing you tell people to do? Like, where are people kind of getting started?
Yeah, I think the kind of the gateway drug, if we want to use that analogy, would be the thermostat.
So the Nest thermostat's like,
or any of the smart thermostats. Yeah. I'm a little biased with my background, but there's quite a few on the market today. The nice thing about Nest is it will actually learn, program itself, and pay for itself. So we tell our customers today, they can get a Nest thermostat for cheaper than it's going to save them per month on their energy savings. I noticed you have one on the wall. So we appreciate the patronage.
Yeah, we got them at all our places. So like, what about like, are there things you're recommending people to do that they're just not doing yet? Where they're like, that just seems like it's too expensive?
Yeah, I think the biggest one there that people aren't considering, just because most people don't think about it, is smoke detectors. Yeah. You'd be shocked. Ask if you have any friends that are firemen or work for fire departments or know someone. Ask them. How often do you go into a house that's on fire or burning or having a major emergency and they didn't have a working smoke detector? Yeah. And what you'll find in the U.S., 70-80% of smoke detectors have expired because they actually have a shelf life. Huh. The sensors inside them actually get clogged up with dust, dirt, debris that just normally ambient in your home. And there's smart smoke detectors. There's one Nest makes called Nest Protect that actually monitors for that and will tell you when the sensor goes bad. It'll also tell you when the battery goes bad. So, one thing I ask homeowners is, how often have you been laying in bed at 2 a.m. and your smoke alarm goes off, right? And you're like, is that an emergency? Is the battery just low?
Yeah.
Probably the battery's just low. You take it down. That's actually really, I know you have a baby at home. It's nice to know. And what's nice about these smart smoke detectors, they'll tell you what's going on and where. So they'll say there's smoke in the den or there's carbon monoxide in the living room. Yeah. Then you know right away. And imagine if you're not home, that's great information. You have a dog at home, right? Yeah. These are nice things to know.
Yeah, smoke detectors drive me nuts because I feel like they're always low on batteries.
The only time, that's the only, I was going to say, that's the only time is when I'm like, I got to go out and get a battery.
And it's 3 o'clock in the morning
right.
and it's low
thing's
battery.
just like, beep!
Yeah, that happens a lot in our
Do you know why
properties.
that happens at 3 a.m? Pop quiz for the Mats?
No. Oh, that's
Tell us, Matthew.
Yeah.
It's your house is usually the coldest. And if you think about batteries, like think about your phone. When your phone gets cold, it dies. The batteries in your smoke detector get weak in the middle of the night, and then that's why everyone has that terrible experience.
There you go. It's never happened to me at noon.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right. When you have a battery.
I just got these batteries at Costco, and here I am, ready to go.
So, what are some of the best low budget brands and devices for people that want to get started with smart home devices, but can't afford that full overhaul? Minus the thermostats. Are you also kind of getting people into Amazon and Google Plays or Google, what do they call it? Google something?
Google Home.
Google Home.
Yeah, there's hundreds of brands, and one of the things that I hope we kind of touch on is the security and the safety of this whole thing. But when we look at, you have Google and Amazon are running away with it because they have deep pockets, right? So there's all these long tail of other companies coming out with devices that may be cheaper. But for the most part, the biggest companies have the infrastructure to put out the devices also at low cost.
But if somebody's starting to do something great that Google and Amazon don't have, do you just see Google and Amazon just buy them?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of
or invest in them.
Like Ring. Remember they were on Shark Tank?
Yeah.
And now
it's a great story for that. Yeah, they got passed.
Yeah. He was on. He's a shark.
And then he got bought for it was over $1 billion or around $1 billion.
What about Apple? Is Apple coming in at all?
The great thing about Apple from a computer and phone standpoint is their closed infrastructure. Yeah. Right. So everything runs perfectly well. Yeah. That's not as great of an approach when you're looking at smart home devices. Some people swear by it. I'm only going to buy Apple HomeKit devices. Okay, fine. You're just really limiting what you're going to put into your home. Yeah. So from a consumer standpoint, it's limiting. It works. It's just their voice speaker actually is one of the lower rated voice speakers from a voice recognition and what it can do because it only interacts with Apple stuff.
Do you think they're going to come out and be second to market and be best, or do you think they're just going to fall behind in this space?
They've already fallen pretty far behind.
Yeah.
But they have more cash than they could ever possibly spend. So very easily they could flip the switch and buy the next 10 biggest companies and be a huge player.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I feel like you haven't. Like, I'm only an Apple guy, and like I love all their products, and I'm just like kind of depressed that they don't have anything cool out.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I would probably jump into space a lot quicker if they came out with something cool.
It's limiting on my end too, as someone that offers these products to consumers. I only want stuff that works with Apple. Yeah, you're limited to 5-6 devices versus literally hundreds.
Do any of these integrate within each other, or are they all like kind of like you get Google, you got to have Google this, Google that, Google that?
Yeah, so they, for the most part, they play nicely.
Okay.
Like if you have an Amazon Echo, for example, and a Nest thermostat, you can control it with your voice.
I have one. Mine don't.
I've
Mine
never
don't
I have
talk.
both of those,
I have
but
both of them. I didn't even know. I don't think they know each other.
And that's exactly what we do, right? So you're one
It's
of
Fred and John, and they haven't been communicating.
I
Damn
don't
it.
have. I have both of them, and the only
Yeah.
thing Amazon I probably spend too much on is we just play music, and I have the subscription.
Yeah.
And the news or whatever in the morning.
Yep.
But that's it. And then I have on my phone I do the Nest, so it's good.
Yeah,
to know.
you maybe you wouldn't, but maybe you would be surprised at how many people have multiple devices and don't know, like, okay, if I connect these things, what else could it do? And that's what we're trying to help.
You know, I feel like I'm a pretty tech savvy guy, but I do feel like it's all pretty overwhelming with like how there's like 10,000. Like I wish there was just like 3 players and that was it. And that, like it was be like, okay, if you buy this all competes with these guys, and then you just take it and hook it up really easily. But even when I tried hooking up some of the stuff, it's not like difficult, but like I feel like you kind of want to just give up after 5 seconds because it just kind of gets annoying.
Yeah, and what I'm anticipating now, again with my Google hat off, there will be 2, maybe 3 winners. Look at like iOS and Android.
Yeah.
Right. There were other smartphone operating system platforms out there, but people don't tolerate having 9 different choices.
Right.
And certainly don't tolerate having the 7 ancillary choices that don't communicate with the first 2.
Yeah.
But you'll see near term, and it's already starting to happen, there are interfaces that control everything that you can integrate things into, just people aren't so aware of those.
What about like being able to switch out the technology? Because, you know, technology changes quick, you know, and like it's easy to just take a phone and then buy a new iPhone, right?
Yep.
And then you're done with it. But like if you have an
Same
Amazon
phone,
Echo and then there's a better one that comes out and you have to buy a new one, like how easy then is it to buy the new one and then have it
Repair
reintegrate with
everything.
everything?
Yeah.
Like is that where you guys come in with your service and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, and just think about that first statement, right? That you're willing to spend X hundred or even 1,000 plus on a phone every 2 years. If 10
Every
years
year I'll
ago,
do it, yeah.
I know you do. You got the fanciest of the fancy.
Yeah,
I just like
he
Apple.
needs his text to go to 4 devices at once.
Right.
Yeah,
So.
just in case.
Which a decade ago, that maybe like you were thinking I would spend that much maybe on a computer, right?
Right.
But now you're so with smart home, there's kind of that same path. We're still in that early adopter phase, and yes, you will see people reintegrating, but more than like swapping things out, it's adding, right? So you have an Amazon Echo, you said.
Yeah.
So do you have 1, 2?
I have the Alexa.
Yeah.
Is that an Echo?
Alexa's the voice assistant on the Echo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought the Echo.
And this
Like
is-
if we have any like 12-year-old listeners, like what an idiot. Like,
I thought the Echo was the little. What's the
That's a
little
dot.
dot? Oh,
That's
I don't
a
have.
dot,
I don't
yeah.
have a dot.
yeah.
But so the point, like you may have, do you have like the Pringles can looking
Yeah,
one? So
exactly.
you might then buy a couple more dots for your bedrooms or
Right.
so more often people are adding on as opposed to swapping out because these things last a long time. Like even the first generation Nest, which came out in 7-8 years ago now, works perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But some people buy the new one because they want the prettier version or the slimmer version.
Yeah.
Right, and it makes a good gift.
What about it does? But what about like so? Do you just think it's going to be Amazon, Google, and Apple as the 3 main players then?
It monetarily should be right
Yeah.
because they can acquire, invest, and they've already shown signs that they're going to do so. I absolutely think Google and Amazon are going to be there. I don't know who that third. It could be Samsung. They have a pretty good platform right now. Apple, I don't think will completely go away, but it's just going to be.
I'm pushing for
You
it.
really are.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not on. That's very common.
I mean,
People
they
are
have
very-
like the best talent. Why don't they just get the guys?
People are very brand loyal to
Yeah.
Apple, so they have that
I
market.
mean, I'm very loyal. If somebody texts me in green, I immediately think I'm getting hacked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the
It's
hell
terrible.
is this?
Yeah.
They're like,
It's
hey,
terrible.
is this Matt? And I'm like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
Texting me in green.
Yeah.
That was me.
Okay, so like, what about voice? Do you see voice being a big factor in smart homes? Like, we're trying to get. My goal in life is to be the main person in voice. So like, because I think a lot of people nowadays in the future aren't going to be doing texting. You're going to say, "Hey Google" or "Hey Alexa, I want to rebuy a pair of jeans," and it's going to say 3 brands.
Well, you can do that already.
I get it, but it's not like every single thing's like that. Hey, turn on the shower. Hey,
Right.
everything's gonna be like that. Do you think voice is the future for everything?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very bullish voice. If you think about what voice is doing, we went offline to online, PC to mobile, mobile to voice is the next one. It's happening much faster.
Yeah.
If you look at just the quantity of these devices that are being sold and also the reach that it extends to, because for your example, people are saying, okay, I want to reorder this. I always like to use the example. My dad, 30-year Mason, recently retired, never learned how to use a computer. People are always saying, Google it, right? And that's like frustrating to someone that doesn't know how to Google it, right? Like they want access to all the information. Yeah. I got him a Google Home for Christmas. He uses it every day, right? Because now he can just say, okay, what's the weather? Which was a big thing. As a Mason, you want to know what the weather is going to be like when
Google,
you're outside. Who won the NASCAR race? Like, these are the things that my dad was, and he was never doing that before, and so getting online.
Now, to touch on like security and stuff like that, do those things record you at all times? Is that
how
they
those
listening?
Work?
I mean, what's the
reality?
reality?
Are they listening?
Because I mean, if you say, "Hey Alexa," I mean, I got to assume it's always got its ears open.
That's a huge.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'll watch an episode of Breaking Bad or something, and then sure enough, it's on my Instagram. The next day, and I'm like, we just watched that episode. This is bullshit.
Yeah. So transparency on all these things is going to be paramount, right? You look at what just happened to Facebook, the multi-billion-dollar lawsuit that they paid out on. Google paid out on a privacy lawsuit in Europe. Everyone's taking it very seriously. What I tell my customers, what I'll tell the podcast listeners and tell you guys is just be careful with who you're inviting into your home, right? And if you're looking at that long tail of companies, it's probably brilliant MIT engineers in some garage in Silicon Valley putting out a device. But again, just adding Wi-Fi and a speaker and a microphone is not a hard thing to do. What they're doing with that data might not be something you're happy with. Now, Google's got a lot to lose, right? So if you think of Google's never really had a major privacy breach issue. And when Nest was acquired by Google, they actually kept all their information separate. Actually, Nest was actually buying cloud space from Amazon, right, when we could have got it for free from Google, just to keep everything separate. That being said, read privacy statements. When it comes to security, the number one thing is your password on any of your devices shouldn't be password, right? Or it shouldn't be like your dog's name, or it shouldn't be your... it shouldn't be your birthday, right, or something like. You look at the major breaches that have impacted Target or Sony, in the past. It wasn't that they hacked into that system; they just used password generators, and they throw in all these passwords, and then they match, and then they release these passwords to the dark web.
But like, what I'm nervous about, and I don't know about you, but like, have you ever said anything dumb at home? And like they record it, and like someday they could just like put it out there, like, hey, you said this, and you're like, no, I didn't, and they're like, here's like a your voice.
I think the best rebuttal for that, and my hope is that it's not going to happen. There was a terrorist shooting in San Bernardino, California, I think it was, and they had documented that the shooter had on his phone text messages, phone calls, record, everything on his phone, and Apple could have released everything. Right? And was like, no. Right. So they put up the wall. They set the precedent at that point. And that was for the most extreme. And I don't know what you're doing at your house.
Right. I mean, nothing crazy.
You're talking Breaking Bad.
I'm just saying, like, you said some stupid stuff behind closed doors. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get, like, I'm not, or you have a friend over that's an idiot. We all know some stupid friends, and they say something stupid. You're like, oh my God. And then it gets, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's what I'm kind of more nervous about. Like, there's no privacy at all.
Yeah, and that's that's your risk benefit situation too. Like if to you as a homeowner, I don't want to invite a voice, something that's going to be listening to me into my home. That's your choice still today. And
I like the idea of the screen, like on your iPad, doing the whole thing from there.
But do you know what really?
Think about online shopping, for example.
Yeah,
right. Like the generation. The baby boomer generation. No way I'm putting my credit card on a computer. Right. Amazon's now the biggest online. Their biggest retailer. Period. right? And there's safety there. So people will get used to it, but if you're not comfortable with it, I say avoid it.
But don't you think the thing I always think about what would be the worst is the guy that's got to listen to all the conversations. Like if there is a guy, like it's like,
there's
oh,
not
shit.
a guy in there.
Oh, shit.
Like
John's home again. Like you got to hear what he talks
it's
about.
It's a thing that just looks for keywords.
I know.
It's not
I'm
a
just
guy.
kidding.
There's 30 guys in there.
Yeah. A bunch of interns. What about like what they're doing with data? Do you know what they're doing with it or anything like that? Have they talked about it? Are they just using it as cookie search? Can you clear your cookies? Like is there on the on your computer you could clear cookies so like it could get rid of your transaction history technically.
You can absolutely purge at any point. I could do it right now on my phone in a couple clicks.
Yeah.
Any and all recordings that have ever been on. You can also mute the device, which again, do you believe that it's actually muted? It is actually muted.
Yeah.
There's a button on any of them that you can turn it off for listening or for any purpose like that.
Sometimes I actually like it because like I'll be thinking about a product and then it magically appears on my Instagram and it's like, well, now I'm gonna buy it because it's there. And although I know they're breaking my privacy, I'm like, I don't live an interesting life, so like it's kind of cool.
I'm
like,
the same way.
What about like hackers? Like, should people be worried about hackers tapping into their homes and like being able to control their cameras and everything like that?
Yeah, same thing on the passwords. Just be two-factor. You know, if you have something smart home related, especially a camera, that someone you don't want someone to have access to your camera.
Yeah.
Is someone going to hack into that? What we always say is it's very, very secure. They're using 128-bit encryption. It's the same thing that most banks are using. It's the same levels of security. It's just people's passwords are, too easy to guess.
How would you know if somebody hacked into you though? Like, is there any way to be able to like there's a detection mode or anything like that?
That's a good idea. I don't know on
Let's roll with it. Shark Tank, buddy. Let's
there's probably
down,
50 cameras on the market.
Yeah.
I do know Nest and Google, for example, just enabled the fact there's lights on every camera, and now when someone's watching, the light is on. You used to be able to turn that off.
Huh.
Just like, if you had it as a security camera, you would disable the light outside so then people didn't know. But yeah, I mean, it's something to keep an eye on. But what I also say is someone could also just look in your window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So
I live in a high-rise zone.
The chances of a burglar or someone like using your camera to spy into your home and then break into your home because they know you're not in there is that guy is not breaking into your house. He's making he's making the cameras for one of these companies.
I mean, listen, if somebody wants to watch me sitting on the couch watching TV, like that's up to them.
Yeah,
but
dominoes running around.
Yeah, by all means. But I'm just wondering, like, what's to happen if like
what bottle of wine is he drinking?
Probably easier to just be like to sit outside and be like, they just left.
Yeah.
Bingo. Because like you said, if you're able to hack in like that and you're able to do that, you probably have a job.
Right. What are the biggest security issues people should worry about with smart homes? So is it just the passwords and stuff like that?
Yeah, just
should you change? How often should you change those too?
It should. A lot of them will prompt you, like the good, just like any of the other higher. And also, as they've added two-factor, they say, hey, you should sign up for two-factor if that ever happens. And that's just the fact that it'll send it anytime you log in from somewhere new. It'll send a notification to your phone, and you have to approve it.
I hate changing passwords.
I get those all the time, and I don't even care. I just delete it.
Yeah,
I'm just like there's like some unknown login somewhere. I'm like, fuck it. Like, you know what I mean?
How do you remember?
Have my Facebook account. I don't care.
Right.
Like, what about the future? Where do you think smart homes are going to go from here? Like, what do you think's going to happen?
I think the understanding and acceptance is, we're still in that early adopter phase for the most part of most devices.
Yeah.
But I suspect as a realtor, you guys see these things in homes every day, right?
Yeah.
You're probably bumping into them. People are, there's now appreciation for it. But again, there's a gap in understanding of what all can this do. So I think in the near term, over the next couple of years, you're going to see advancements in people's understanding of what everything can do together.
Yeah.
And then there's really cool stuff happening with what Google calls ambient computing, right? So like if you walk into your house and you like the lights a certain way, the shades a certain way, and the music a certain way, it can recognize your face and do that accordingly. If I walked into your house and I wasn't invited over, right, or if it's the first time I'm over there, you could get a notification that says there's an unknown person in your living room, right? That's pretty powerful versus just like think about even 3 years ago, it would just be motion in your living room, which is still better than I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So you'll see ambient computing start to do. So like Nicole walks in, different set of things happen, different set of security controls. Roan's moving in his bed, right?
Yeah.
These are all things that are going to start to happen naturally that you'll start to expect. Like there's really cool stuff coming.
People are going to be like kids, like our kids are going to be like, you had to actually physically turn on a light when you were older.
Or you had to walk. They're probably just going to like sit in those like wally things.
Yeah. What about like for like the business aspect? Are you guys like trying to partner with like new construction companies and stuff like that? Is that kind of like the future for like smart homes? Is that these companies like yours and other stuff is like, hey, let's get involved with every new building that goes up, so every home from here on out is like going to be like that?
Yeah, both are us reaching out and builders reaching out to us, right? So there's a big gap again in what builders want and what service providers today are. Because do I go ask my HVAC guy to do this? Do I ask an integrator who's going to charge me a ton, or do I ask my electrician? You know, who do I ask? So companies like mine will start to form and work with builders, but builders are realizing too, I can sell for more money and faster, and then everyone wants this stuff, right? So,
especially if it's done, like you said, like
right,
before you move in.
I can't remember the stat, but it's the majority of homeowners don't consider a home move-in ready unless it has some sort of smart home play, right? And what that is, again, is undefined. But if it's completely naked of all things smart home, you're selling a house that to most buyers isn't considered ready, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. How far out do you think it is until like everything is like you walk in and it's just like, you know, lights on, that, you know, they recognize your face and stuff like that?
I mean,
like,
I think it's
do you think it's 5,
right?
10, 50? Like I'm talking until it's like completely mainstream, every house.
Probably a decade. I mean, same thing with your phones.
Yeah.
You know how long there's still people that are using flip phones and but
T9
how we look at it, and you know, we're in a major metro right now in Chicago, so we talk about broadband households, so houses that have high-speed internet versus those that don't. The high-speed internet homes, this is happening in the next 3-4 years. It's not far. Like it's coming.
All right. And then Fast Five, where the co-host asks 5 questions for you to answer.
All right, you ready?
Matt P, you ready?
Is this like a
you have to do it like you have to do it so fast. No,
man.
Just say, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That's a good one. I get a lot of. For some reason, I feel like I attract advice. People are like, "Hey, let me help you with something." I actually just got back from a wedding over the weekend in New Mexico for my brother-in-law, and my mother-in-law likes to give wedding advice. And talk about marriage and things like that. And hers was always like, date night is sacred. So I think that's a really good piece of advice, and not necessarily professional, but you know, and on that point, you know, I think balance is good, right? And I've had mentors say like, you can always outwork people, and I think I've done that in a lot of stages of my career, but also keep balance, right? Like find the things that outside of work that keep you driven and happy.
Yeah.
All right. Do you love to win or hate to lose?
It's my favorite question.
We know. Says it every time. It's my favorite question.
I think I might be both. Like I grew up playing sports. I've been in sales my whole career, and you know we're coming up at end of quarter again. But it's just I love winning so much. Like it drives me to not be able to fall asleep when I've had like a big victory. I'm super excited, but also if I've lost, I get so like it kills me.
Yeah.
High highs and low lows.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your biggest hero?
I'd say my mom.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I think if I could talk to my dog, or dogs in general,
you can with the smart homes. You could do all this.
That's the future. That's the future I didn't tell you about.
You started reading the dogs.
Yeah. They already have that. You could like go in, like watch your dog all day.
Yeah.
I don't want that, but what makes you Chicago?
I love Chicago. I was born and raised in the suburbs. I lived here for a number of years in a condo that Matt sold me and then sold for me. And you know, I love it here. I spent time away, and I think when you're away, you start to realize how great the people are here. So for me, it's all things the people, the pizza, and the Bears.
Yeah, and you're going to the Bears game tomorrow.
I am.
So home opener. So
I got them winning 300-2.
Where can people find you, and what would you want to plug?
You know, keep watch our social media is going to start growing. It's simply Smart Home on both Facebook and Instagram. And you know, for anyone that's listening, I'm going to run a little special here. So if you're a Matt Laricy group client or selling your home, I'd be happy to do a consult and give you a free Google Mini just for your time.
Damn.
So free value as long as you mention this podcast. And so just keep a lookout. Look for us in your neighborhood as our trucks are rolling around.
Nice. Awesome. So make sure to tune into our next episode, subscribe, and rate our podcast. Thanks for listening to the Matt Laricy Project. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, follow us on Instagram, and like us on Facebook.